I think today is Tuesday. Um, we're doing a new story called Mice of the Westing Wind. It is a three-part story, so we're reading this for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then on Thursday, you'll have a graded assignment over what we read. So let's get started with this. We're going to go over our vocabulary. All right, so the first word is scribbling. And if you read this sentence, it talks about scribbling is a way to draw, just like sometimes scribbling can just be like sort of just abstract drawings, just kind of getting your scribbling down really fast. If you're drawing a painting, they really wouldn't call that scribbling. Scribbling is kind of like before you know how to draw. It's not perfect art. All right, so then another vocabulary word is deserves. All right, so if you deserve something, it means you earned it, and you have earned the right for it. All right, the next vocabulary words are burst. He's going to burst with excitement. If you think about a balloon, you blow it up too big, it's going to burst and pop. And then mention is to say something in passing, to tell somebody something. So before we read this, I want you to think about what might happen if you were lost and had to find your way home. We talked about this in chapel. It was the day that I did the chapel about feeling lost and what would we do. And why do you think most stories do not tell the solution to the problem until the end? What would it, if you're reading a story and they told you the problem was solved in the first page, would you keep reading till the end of the book? Probably not. So in this book, Mice of the Westing Wind, this is what you're going to be reading today. Can you go ahead and grab your books? Turn to page 156. You can see on that page there's an illustration, and it says Mice of the Westing Wind, Book 2 from the Journey Fourth novel. So this is the second book in the series, so we're picking up in the middle of the story. It says, in the book, Charles and Oliver are on a mission for the Queen. They must find the pirate hideout in the Caribbean Sea. In the first chapter, they were stranded on an island after being discovered on the pirate ship, the Westing Wind. They escape by jumping overboard. Now they must find a way off the island so they can finish their mission. Charles thinks he has an idea that might work. So it says, think as you read. Let me stop that. Okay. So while you're thinking, while you're reading, I want you to think about what is Charles's idea, and does Charles's idea solve the problem and get off the mice off the island? All right, so I'm going to actually read the first section of it today, and then tomorrow you can read section 2 by yourself. So if you just pay attention, I'm going to start reading from page 158. It says, Buffo. What might work? Asked Oliver. A balloon, of course, said Charles, with a boat hanging from it. Oliver twisted his head. It looks like a flower pot to me. You're looking at it upside down, said Charles. Come over here. Oliver stepped around the drawing to the other side. It looks wonderful, Charles, but where are we going to find a balloon? We'll build it, exclaimed Charles. I've been looking at the trees and vines in the forest, and I've seen some really big leaves. We could sew them together. In fact, I think we can find everything we need right here. That's nice, Oliver said slowly. But this looks like something that could take weeks to build, and we've already lost a day. If we don't start after the Westing Wind soon, we'll be hopelessly behind them. Remember, the Westing Wind is that boat that they were riding on to find the pirate hideout. Charles didn't say anything for a minute. Then he sat down on the sand and put his head on his paws. I guess you're right. Oliver put an arm around his friend and patted his back. Sorry to burst your balloon, Charles, he said. Why don't you come over and get something to eat? Maybe it'll help you feel better. Thanks, old chap. I guess I might as well. Charles stood up and tossed his scribbling stick toward a clump of tall grass. Flap! A familiar-looking tongue snapped the stick out of midair. Oliver grinned. I think he deserves to eat something better than that, he whispered. He picked up a red berry and threw it in the same direction. Flap! Came the tongue again. Then Charles joined in the fun. Flap! 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 Soon they had thrown half their breakfast into the tall grass, laughing all the while. While the berries stopped flying, an orange and black tree frog hopped into the clearing. He had berry juice all over his face. Juicy flies, croaked the frog. Thanks. His long tongue licked his face clean. Oliver giggled. Glad you like them. Like the hole? Asked the frog. Charles paused. Oh yes, the hole, the cave. Thank you for telling us about it. Good hole, croaked the frog. But not for me, no bugs. That's fine with us, Oliver said. He scratched at a mosquito bite. Charles sat down on a rock. Do you know Emilio? He asked. Uh-huh, good friends, the frog smiled and hopped closer. Ah, good bats. They eat 'em high, we eat 'em low. Oliver looked puzzled. The mosquitoes, said Charles. Yes, of course, said Oliver. Everybody, said the frog, works together. Everybody knows this his place. Island rule. Indeed, said Charles politely. By the way, I'm Charles and this is Oliver. Bufo, announced the frog. Charles and Oliver looked at each other and then at the frog. Pardon me? Charles asked. Bufo, the frog said again. He pointed to himself. Charles and Oliver looked at the frog and then at each other. Oh, they said together. Bufo, said Oliver, do you remember the sea dogs? At the mention of sea dogs, Bufo began to frown. Don't like 'em, he croaked. Too big mouths, too big feet, too much smoke. All right, so this is part of the story that we haven't read. It was in part 1. So something happened with the sea dog. So it's just, we're picking up in the middle of the story. Oliver scratched his head. Oh, Charles looked down at Oliver. You mean they made a lot of noise, trampled down the forest, and built big fires on the beach? Uh-huh, croaked Bufo. No give, all take. Whole island glad to see him go. Would have helped him go sooner. Oliver sat up straight, and his whiskers twitched with excitement. He smiled at Charles. Then he turned to the tree frog again. Did you mean the whole island would help them go? Uh-huh, croaked the frog. Everybody work together. And would you work together, interrupted Oliver, to make sure those sea dogs never come back here again? Uh-huh, Bufo croaked eagerly. Yippee, shouted Oliver. Charles grinned, but Bufo looked puzzled. Listen, Bufo, said Charles. If you and the rest of the island creatures help us build a balloon, we'll do our best to keep those sea dogs far, far away from here. If you build it, they will not come? Right, Bufo, said Oliver. Will you help us? We will build it, croaked the frog. I tell others. Yippee! Come on, Charles. Let's get things ready for our crew of helpers. All right, so that's ended on page 163. So tomorrow we're going to read all together. Today, for your assignment, you're going to be doing page in your workbook. Pages 183 and 184. Let us know if you have questions, and we'll continue with this story tomorrow.